Most dips follow a simple formula, and once you know it, you can create really good dips without a recipe. Today I'll show you that formula and 3 different dips so you can see it in action. From a sweet and moorish carrot and roast garlic dip to a fresh and zesty courgette and basil one, and then finally a rich and umami roasted aubergine with miso and gochujang. So if you're a lover of dip like me, then give this formula a go and start making some delicious and healthy dips. Every dip is just a combination of a few different components, starting with a vegetable, whether that's a non-starchy one like red pepper or courgette, or you can use a starchy one like carrot and sweet potato. Then you want something creamy like tahini or yogurt, or you want something that turns creamy once blended, such as cashews or butter beans, for example. Next up, something acidic to really bring out the other flavors, whether that's a citrus juice like lime or lemon, or you could use a vinegar such as balsamic, or a sherry vinegar, that sort of thing. You could also include a fat element such as olive oil or sesame oil, or it can also be included within the creamy element. For example, cashews, tahini are all high fat. Having something high fat just ensures your dip is really lovely and luxurious and creamy. You then of course want to add some flavor boosters, whether that's garlic, herbs, chili paste, spices, all that sort of thing. And then optionally, depending on the vegetable that you're using and how much water content it has, you're probably going to want to add some liquid just to help it blend into a lovely creamy dip. Okay, for our first dip, the roast garlic and carrot, we're just going to start by topping and tailing these carrots. And then carrots can take quite a while to cook, so I'm going to cut them fairly small into these nice round discs, about 1 centimeter thick. I've given these carrots a clean as I am going to keep the skin on. Lots of good nutrients in there. So we'll just slice these up. And then we're also roasting a whole bulb of garlic, which I'm just going to slice down the center, like so. And I'm going to roast these in my air fryer just because it is so quick. So I'm adding some olive oil into there, a good pinch of salt. Get in there with your hands and give it a good old mix up so everything is nice and coated. And we're going to put the garlic face side down. And then we'll roast these until they're beautifully caramelized and soft. This is the color that you're looking for on your carrots, lovely and caramelized and golden and nice and soft. I'll be doing this dip in the blender for a really nice smooth dip, but you can do it in the food processor for a slightly chunkier one if you want. For the first flavoring, we've got this lovely roast garlic going in. When you roast garlic, it goes beautifully sweet and mellow. So just squeeze that out. For the creamy element, I'm going to add some cannellini beans. Then just a touch of warming and earthy cumin. It goes really well with butter beans and carrots, so it's a perfect spice to use in this. And a small amount of turmeric. It can be quite bitter if you add too much, especially when we're not cooking it. So just a little of that. Then as I said earlier, you want something acidic, so I'm going to add in some lemon juice. And then for the fat, I'm adding olive oil. Feel free to just use some water if you don't want to add in olive oil. We'll also add a good grating of black pepper. Carrots are quite sweet, so this is going to be a nice contrast to that. And a pinch of salt. The carrots have been seasoned, but the butter beans have not been. And then we'll blend this up. It may need a little water, but we'll see how it goes. So we've got all the elements in there. We've got the vegetable, we've got the creamy element, the butter beans, we've got fat, we've got flavorings, and we've got an acidic component. For another one of the flavorings, I'm going to add some finely chopped parsley. And I like to add this in after we've blended it, as I'm not sure what sort of color we'd get mixing orange and green, but I reckon it ain't pretty. So we'll just finely chop this and fold it through. Okay, we've got a really lovely creamy consistency. I'm going to add in my parsley now. I'll just blend this for like 10 seconds to mix it through. And there you have a beautifully smooth and sweet carrot, roast garlic and parsley dip. Let's give this a taste and see if the formula works. Let's get another one. Oh, that's delicious. First you get that lovely sweet roasted carrot, then you get a nice little subtle hint of the garlic. Because we've roasted it, it's really nice and mellow. It's not sort of bitter and harsh. There's a subtle hint of the cumin and the turmeric, and then finally a nice bit of freshness from the lemon and that parsley. really tasty.
Ready? Ready?
Onto our creamy courgette and basil. All we're going to do is remove this tiny bit on the end. This piece here, you don't need to remove, it's going to be roasted and it'll blend up perfectly fine. I'm going to keep these pieces fairly large, so I'm just cutting it in half and then in half lengthways. Same for the other piece. And then I quite like to score the flesh in a sort of diamond pattern. Just helps the heat get into the vegetable. Same with the seasonings. And then again, I've just done simple olive oil, salt and pepper, and I'm going to cook them in the air fryer. Once again, I'm going to go for a smooth dip and use the blender. And we'll start with those lovely roasted courgettes. For this dip, we're making it extra creamy. We're going to add 2 creamy elements, starting with this vegan yogurt. Then some lovely and nutty tahini. For flavourings, we're going to start with 1 small garlic clove. Next flavouring is going to be a good handful of fresh basil. Then for acidity, I'm going for lemon juice again. I would add some lemon zest as well, but my lemon was starting to go a little bit mouldy, so I didn't fancy adding it this time. Then I'm going to add in some nutritional yeast for that lovely nutty and savoury flavour. This dip's almost going to be a sort of pesto vibe. I'll add 2 tablespoons of that. And I'm going to add a touch of olive oil, just maybe a tablespoon. Just a small pinch of salt this time. And some black pepper. I'm also going to add a couple ice cubes to help keep things nice and cool so the basil doesn't discolor. And we'll blend that until smooth, just like the carrot one. This dip will look a little runnier at first, but once you refrigerate it, it will thicken up. And it's a great one for dipping crisps in. I'll just pop that in the fridge for 10 minutes or so. Just 10 minutes in the fridge and that has thickened up nicely. Yes, love this one. This one honestly just tastes like a really good pesto. It's fresh with basil and lemon, a hint of garlic, and some nuttiness from that nutritional yeast. You could also use it as a pasta sauce for a alternative use. Next up is our miso aubergine with gochujang, a nice spicy Korean chili paste. So just like the courgette, we're going to go in half lengthways, and then we'll cut these in half as well. And I'm going to score these just like we did with the courgette in a diamond pattern. Just like that, so when you open it up, you've got these nice gaps in the courgette for seasoning and heat to go. And since I've got enough space in this air fryer with the courgettes, I'm going to roast them together. Simply salt, pepper, and olive oil, and we'll roast them until caramelized golden and perfectly soft. Once your aubergine is roasted, we're just going to scoop out the flesh, as the skin can be quite tough and sort of bitter. So we're just going to use the flesh for this recipe. If your aubergine is roasted properly, it should scoop out really easily. And I'm going for more of a rustic vibe of this dip, so we're going to do it in the food processor rather than the blender. We're just making a small amount of this dip as my partner isn't a huge aubergine fan. For the creamy element, we're going to add in some firm tofu. You could also use silken tofu. Then for flavor, I'm adding some lovely salty and umami white miso. A touch of gochujang, which is a really nice Korean chili paste. It's quite nice and tangy and fruity. I'm just adding a little bit as I don't like it too spicy. Then for acidity, a small splash of rice wine vinegar. You could also use lime juice if you wanted to. And for fat, I'm going to use some sesame oil. Also flavor as well. This is toasted sesame oil, so it adds a lovely nutty touch. Then a small grating of pepper. I won't add any salt as we've got the white miso in there. For even more flavor, we're going to zest in some fresh ginger. Ginger can actually be quite fiery and hot, especially when you zest it and have it fresh. And I'll also zest in 1 small garlic clove. Zesting it will make it quite pungent, so we don't want to add too much. And that's it, we'll give that a blend and then we'll add some fresh coriander to finish it. Then some fresh coriander, just give it a quick chop before adding it into the food processor. And then the coriander just going in for the last 20-30 seconds. I'm going to add a drizzle of olive oil as well, just to make it slightly looser. And there you've got a really lovely, punchy and aromatic aubergine dip. If you wanted it smoother, you could use silken tofu, and you could of course use the blender rather than a food processor. Oh, that packs a punch, that one. Aubergine or eggplant is the perfect accompaniment to all these bold flavors, as long as you roast it into its soft caramelized. You want lots of color on it, so it sort of holds up to the more strong flavors like that gochujang. This is spicy, umami and fragrant all in one. If you want it to be slightly smoother, this one's a bit more rustic, use some silken tofu rather than firm tofu. Thank you so much for watching. According to YouTube, this video might interest you. Enjoy.